hanging, looking fresh, hanging out in
Oh,
New York
thank you.
City with Bobby
Appreciate it.
Manning.
What a
Carpooling.
game,
That was good,
man.
right?
Oh, man. I didn't
Oh,
expect that.
every time it's funny. Like it's just there's always something fun when I mean, granted, Celtics pulled away late. These games at MSG are always fun. I always feel like there's just something wild.
Yeah, Saturday night, too. You feel the vibes, everyone in here. I mean, it wasn't as rowdy as it usually is, but the second half, everyone's focused and everyone's dialed in, so it was good.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it was good. I mean, so couple takeaways, and again, thank you guys for hanging on. Those guys are down in New York City, had to get set up, so it took us a minute to get going. But we'll hang out here until Bobby joins us, and we'll talk a little bit. It'll be a relatively short show, but again, the Celtics made every three. Obviously, the franchise record. That's such a they were just. Oh, enough with the Blake Griffin apology, Cam. We'll give Blake a little bit of his due.
That's
Bullet
a lot.
points. Bullet
That's a
points
lot.
tonight worth talking about for sure. 3-pointers, good thing, bad thing, right? Live by the three, die by the three sort of game. You always feel good when those things go down. What I liked about tonight is a lot of them were extra pass threes. A lot of them were good look threes. A lot of them were drive. Inside out sort of threes, drive to the basket, draw the defense, kick it out, wide open shooters. Hauser was out of his freaking mind. But, again, being overly reliant on it is always they average 40 a game, which puts them near the top of the league, top 2 or 3. They had 41 after 3 quarters. That's a ton of threes. That's how you lose back-to-backs a lot. You just start jacking from deep because you just don't have Tatum, a day after going to the free throw line 20 times, his first 8 field goal attempts, he's 3 for 8 from the 3-point line. His 9th field goal attempt is like a 15-foot fadeaway, which goes down, then another 3. And finally he gets something going to the basket. But he was like, I'm all set. I did my work last night. I'm going to chill out here. That can go two ways. But tonight they were just friggin' on fire.
It worked out. Because everybody else was doing it, though. That's the thing. Like, that's not going to happen every single night. But at the same time, I think it is it's a testament to the way they were swinging the ball. Everyone's getting their touches. You saw a lot of these threes were open, but more importantly, there were after 3 or 4 passes. And those are good shots. Those are good looks. Those are that's executing, right? That's what Joe Mazzulla has been preaching the last week. And he can't complain about this one. I mean, sure, the Knicks did hang around. They were able to fight back in the half-court set and pick their spots and gain some momentum. But at the end of the day, Tatum got going again. It's funny you say that because in the third quarter, I turned to Bobby. I'm like, oh man, this is lazy Tatum. I'm going to chuck these threes. Let's see what happens. And then by the fourth quarter, I'll clean it up depending on the situation. And he somewhat did that, but he was still taking a lot. I mean, look, he took all but 2 shots weren't 3-pointers. Like that's what it was. And they were clean looks. They were good shots, but there were also those Jason Tatum shots, those really tough looking, don't. Yes. Wow. What a shot. What a make, those type of threes. And the New York Knicks hung around, but then Noah Vonleh, Bobby's busting my chops because, I've been preaching about Vonleh and Luke Cornett looked like he was a late scratch or he was no longer with the team. He was here before the game though. So I'm not exactly sure what happened there. We'll probably get some more information.
Maybe
so
Bobby
will have something. So apparently, I saw reports of him he had to either leave or he wasn't with the team. But I'm like, Bobby and I saw him with our own, 2 eyes with the team. He was practicing 2 hours before tip off. So I don't know what happened.
Abby said personal reasons.
Right, but he was in the building though. I don't know if she added that part in there, but he was here. We both saw him, and
he left midway through the first quarter, according to Mazzulla. Bobby just got an update. Left midway through the first quarter, is expected to miss the rest of the road trip.
Oh, wow. So maybe it's a family thing. Yeah, okay.
So something's going on.
He was with I don't want to assume it was family, but he was with some kids that were in the stands. I don't know if it was his family members or not, but I was just confused by the report because I'm like, he's here. He was definitely in the building.
Yeah, he left there, and I was curious what happened because, again, this felt like would have been a heavy Cornet minutes game. But regardless of Luke being there and available to start the game, it was a Blake Griffin game to start. And sure, fine. You want to go there? We'll go there. We kind of joked about Blake, and we really thought he'd fallen way out of favor in the rotation. Again, there's a version of him that's useful simply because he knows where he's supposed to be. He's a big body. He can help you a little bit on defense. He's smart. He's obviously extremely limited,
Right.
but he gave you good minutes tonight.
Yeah, he did. And I think this is what Mazzulla wanted to do, right? In terms of like picking his spots with Blake, not throwing him in there during garbage time. We haven't seen that, right? Only giving him these spot, maybe not a spot start is what I expected, but when Al is resting, he'll get those minutes. And putting him in the starting lineup, I thought was a good way to sort of mix things up. He talked about that before the game. He didn't want to give us his starting five, but we figured it would be something, out of the ordinary. But it's funny, a lot of the reporters were like, "Wow, Blake, no one was even thinking of Blake." I was thinking of Vonleh. I was thinking he might go small. He told us he would most likely go small. But
I thought maybe Grant, and again, right. So, and again, I think the importance of kind of, a lot of coaches do this. They really want to stick with their rotations. You see that happen a lot. A guy goes out and rather than make the natural fit, instead of pulling a guy, because again, what's been working, what's the one constant in the last two games? The Tatum and the bench unit, and Jaylen got some run with the bench unit tonight too, but it's basically the one star and then the bench guys. And tonight it was Vonleh, and it was Grant, and it was Cornet. I mean, and it was Hauser, and it was Brogdon. And that unit again was a difference-making unit. Hauser had a career high by the second quarter. I mean, and again, this is what we talked about with this freaking guy, man. He's legit automatic. He's automatic. The release is quick. He just needs a little bit of daylight. They're running him off of sets, off of screens. They ran him on a nice ATO to get an open 3 one time. He's just there. And again, when you've got so many other dangerous people, and Brogdon just opens up Hauser's world, right? Because he just goes into the paint and sucks the defense in, and you get those kickouts, and he's just there. And then when you have another guy on the court, you got to worry about like a Tatum. Hauser's going to get those shots, man, and he's going to knock him down. And again, he did not kill himself on defense.
I was just going to say that.
Is he stopping people? No, but he's competitive. He's hanging in there. These minutes are perfect minutes for him right now.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, this is what he needs to be playing. And it's what they need. I mean, 21 minutes tonight for him. I mean, that's pretty legit.
Right. Right, and he's a threat. He's a constant threat. So teams have to prepare for that. Obviously, if he continues to do this, which I think he will, Tom Thibodeau even brought him up before the game, which I thought was interesting. I'm like, he's on the radar. People are paying attention to what the Celtics have been doing the last week or so. Obviously, going into this one, you're going to do your due diligence, and he was someone that the Knicks head coach brought up, along with Grant Williams and the second unit. So I think he was anticipating that sort of performance from the second unit as a whole. But defending the three or seeing the Celtics make as many threes as they did, I don't think he anticipated that. And, it's incredible. But, yeah, like you said, man, Brogdon had a lot to do with that.
Yeah, but so the thing with Hauser is you don't expect him to go out there and make 5-6 threes. But I do expect him to make the majority of them. I mean, he's legitimately shooting 55% from three. I actually think, like I said, I've said it over the course of the season, he's going to shoot 46%. He's that freaking good, man.
Right. That's exactly what this team needs.
That's a crazy weapon. That's a crazy weapon.
We were shocked when we let's be honest, we were shocked when we saw that Grant had spiked up to 41% because I mean he was hot, but we didn't think that the Celtics had a 40+ % from the floor from the three shooter, but that's what Grant evolved into. So you put someone like Hauser in the mix, man, all of a sudden that's a second unit that teams have to worry about.
It's a difference. It's a difference. That's the whole thing is like, what were you saying the Celtics needed last year? A guy who can come in and maybe a 3-and-D sort of guy who might be able to knock down 36% of their threes and just keep you honest, Like Hauser's far from a 3-and-D guy, but he's a legit assassin from out there. Yeah. He is going to average, like I said, 45 to 50. That's how good a shooter he is. He's freaking unreal.
You hit 45%. You could hit 45% for sure. It's fundamentals, man. That's what Jules was talking about. He's a great example of that. We talked about it last night. His footwork, the way he's able to hide behind screens, but also attack and hold his own on defense, keep himself in front of opposing scoring.
What are we calling Hauser with this super chat? I don't know. We need a nickname. What do you think?
I know he needs one. Man, it's funny. Scal was talking about that before the game. He was asking everyone, we're like, I don't know, man. Sammy,
our producer Tim Shields throwing out Sammy Automatic. I'll allow it. I don't think it's gonna stick, but I like it.
Not bad.
I like it.
Yeah, a lot of people on Twitter was doing the Hauser where you turn the E into a 3. I'm like, that doesn't really translate the same, verbally. So we need
all right,
else.
guys, you guys, the chat's better at this than we are. So you guys give
Hauser.
us.
That's terrible.
Which one?
Someone said Hauser.
I like it. I was thinking of Howitzer and Hauser, but it's clumsy.
It's got to be something with Sam. Something with
Sam Howitzer, Sniper Sam. Fine, I don't mind alliteration.
You got to incorporate exactly. You got to incorporate that Sam part. I think you can do something with that.
Again, Howitzer is a lot of people going back there, but I'm not feeling it. It's there. That one's there. And that one's, I'm not gonna say easy, but it's not perfect, guys. You'll know it when you have it. When we did it for Pritchard, there was about 50 good ones, right?
Yeah. It's got to roll right off the tongue. It's got to be like almost like, oh, that's what everyone should have been calling him before. It's got to be natural fit.
Yeah. All right, we'll get back to that, but I do like.
Guys, work on that while we do the show.
I do workshop it. Okay.
Yeah.
Make it happen.
See what sticks.
No, I mean, so my overall impression again, it's so easy to be like, it's just the Knicks and blah, blah, blah. It's the second of a back-to-back. You're in a place. You've had some tough games there in the past. It's a lively environment. It still is just the Knicks, but you have no bigs at all. And to play this game and to win and to be able to kind of win going away at the end there, that's a good win.
It is, and I think low key Joey Mazzulla is building this second unit. Like, and the reason why I say it's low key is because everyone's like, oh, this is because Rob's not in the mix, right? They have to come up with something coming off the bench. But I think depth played a part in that NBA Finals series, no question, obviously, right? Especially when the Stars went ice cold from the floor. So I think Mazzulla is going into the season with that intention, but just didn't want to make it a talking point going in, right? Because it's hard to sort of push that agenda when Rob's not there, right? I think he just wanted to build confidence in people and obviously see what sticks and mix and match, certain players. And I think he's onto something here. Whether it's Jaylen or Tatum, you put them out there, with the rest of with that bench unit to start the second quarter. You got guys like Brogdon coming off the bench, right off the bench. The first one's off midway through the first. Him and Grant going in. I just think this is going to be something he's developing, and I think it's going to, at the end of the season, it's going to be very a strength of the Celtics team, but part of their identity.
I low key like 3 Sam. I don't know.
3 Sam's not bad.
Anybody interested in a 3 Sam?
Yes, see, the Sam part is key. 3 Sam. Yo, shit got so wild last night, man. There was a 3 Sam.
It was a 3 Sam at the Garden last night. Friggin' nuts. That's my first 3 Sam.
He's got to make at least 3. Oh, 3 Sam. We got 3 Sam. I remember my first 3 Sam.
Oh man, where were you? Right? Oh my goodness gracious. Anyway,
I was in New York, kid.
My first 3 Sam. Anyway, so Hauser great, and again, the best thing about it is the expectation isn't any. You don't need him to be. This is what I love about it. You don't need him to be anything other than what he is. You just want him to go out there. What's amazing is we obsessed for a little while over why don't they use a TPE on Duncan Robinson and get a guy like that? And there are some people who are like, they got Duncan Robinson. His name's Sam Hauser. I'm like, well, they won't play him. So obviously there's something going on there. But when you look at it, Duncan Robinson all of a sudden became unplayable in New York because he was such a defensive liability. Problem with Duncan is he stopped hitting threes in such a ridiculous clip. As long as Hauser can hit threes, we don't expect 55% for the year.
Well, he doesn't have to exactly. Yeah.
As long as he knocks him down, there's a role for him. And again, this is a thing that last year people were like, he can't play. Space Sam, not bad, Tim. Tim's coming in with a couple.
Yeah, that one's all right.
That one's all right. We're still getting there. But I love that. Other stuff from the game, and again, smart, more controlled game today. And again, I just, he had a ton of assists early. I mean, he had 8 assists, in the first half. I think he finished with 11, was it?
Yeah. He was looking for everyone, man, especially when he was going into the paint and doing what he's been doing. Honestly, the last couple of games, in my opinion, it's just everyone's still thinking about that that shot he took at the end of overtime, but he's moved on from that. So
yeah,
this is
he
good.
Finished with 11 assists. Shot attempts were down. He is another efficient shooting night. And again, if you looked at the box score from last night, it would have been the same thing, efficient. I just think once again, and again, I'll say this on a day that Marcus had a good game. Again, the difference between what Marcus brings and what Brogdon does is definitely interesting, but also again, just to, because the Marcus stands get triggered really easily. They're both good things, but it is really amazing where you see again, just what a real offensively minded point guard can do to your offense, just in terms of, he didn't even have a good shooting night tonight, but again, the offense that he creates just by getting downhill, getting to the basket, being able to kick it back out is incredible. Every time he's in a game, I feel like the whole energy shifts in terms of what the offense does.
Yeah, it's contagious for sure, and I think his handles have a lot to do with that as well. He protects the ball. He does a good job when he's out there, and that was an issue last year. Remember, some certain games it was 17, 18 turnovers, and the Celtics couldn't get out of their own way in that regard. But they cleaned that up, and I think a lot of this has to do with guys like Brogdon and obviously the experience that they had from last year in the NBA Finals. I just think that they're in this natural groove right now, and even on the second night of a back-to-back, it didn't slow them down. This 3-point shootout that they had, this franchise historic performance, man, it speaks volumes, especially on the second night of a back-to-back for sure. This offense is clicking at a level that I haven't seen the Celtics play like this in a while, man. Just offensively, right? I mean, we know what they were defensively last year in the NBA, but this offense, man, I mean, they're flirting with 100 through three quarters, and obviously these 3-pointers help in a long way, but it's clean though. Like that's what's impressive about it. It's clean basketball. It's not forced. It's not so and so had to go and drain 9 for 11 or so. Like everyone is getting their touches and 4 or 5 passes before an attempt. It's just good basketball. It really is.
This one is a bit of a reach, but I'm throwing it up there because I like the
Butternutter. I had one of those yesterday. Actually, they had that.
A fluffer nutter?
No, butter nutter.
Nutter butter? You mean the cookie?
Yeah.
Get it right.
Which Sherrod told me is like old school. I had no idea. I'd never seen one before.
Yeah. Those are good. They're shaped like peanuts.
Yeah,
they're good.
Yeah, they weren't bad. I'm more of a chewy bar guy. They didn't have those. I like
totally. Yeah, we're still searching, guys. We're still searching. We'll get there.
Tonight was just a good, clean
3-Sam. How's about that, guys? Come on.
How's about that?
You got to feel better about it.
That could be a headline in the sports section.
Okay, they're going with house money, I guess. Some people are. We'll see. House on fire. I can see that. Okay, house special. What's going on, buddy?
Oh, you hear that? Oh,
are you at the after party?
No, they're having a free throw shooting contest, or everyone's shooting a free throw, and there's like 15 people taking their time. They do that for like season ticket holders or something.
Yeah, because everyone gets mad at us when we don't talk about Jaylen Brown.
Great.
Obviously, they needed him getting it going early tonight, which was good because, again, a little bit of a passive start from Tatum, but Brown was, fire early, and he kept it going. He found it. He found his groove. Yeah,
he was efficient. What did he finish? 1 turnover.
He only had 1 turnover. They had it early. Yeah. And that's it. 10 of 19, 6 of 11 threes.
Yeah, I mean that's as clean as it gets for Jaylen. And a lot of those shots were, his approach was in my opinion, it wasn't like him trying to do too much. In the beginning, I thought he was gonna fall into that trap. He started things off with the 3, and then so did Tatum, and then everyone else got hot as well. And then he started picking his spots when to attack, and he did a really good job. I feel like the Knicks sort of he was that guy left open sometimes, and he took advantage for sure.
I was really worried when they started with 5 threes. I was like, I feel like there was one game.
I was too.
Earlier this year where the same thing happened. They hit a bunch early, and then it just went cold. Because
I knew the lead. I knew they would lose that lead, but I didn't think,
right away
they would go off and drain almost 33 pointers. Like that's not what I thought was the next, in the second half.
I'm going back to the thing I said yesterday. Like, I know the defense is concerning. And again, I'm not banging just on Jaylen. I don't think we talked about it. We don't think Marcus has been great so far on defense. I think, there's some holes. They had a tough time defending the perimeter. They gave up a lot of shots. Obviously, they got beat up inside, and that's going to hurt tonight, with the points in the paint. They just didn't have the size to compete there. But Randall bullied them, a little bit when he was getting the ball down low. But they're just weird stuff right now. Like Jaylen, I thought a lot of times either got lost on a switch or overhelped. Or was late a couple of times and just kind of late to get out to shooters or recognize a rotation. And they just kind of just stuff that they just weren't really doing last year, which again, I think they'll figure out eventually. But the offense, I think, is real. I mean, that's the other thing is like there's a lot of other teams right now probably not playing their A-game defense. But again, I think the offense is real. I'm not as worried about the defensive concerns, but it's another friggin' ugly defensive game tonight.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, again, this is probably the best offense I've seen, best Celtics offense I've seen in a while. So that's obviously been what's pushing them. But you just hope that he'll get into it again. He'll be the guy that he was last year, which I think he will be. You just wonder if this is, them just trying to lock down the offense so much, it's taking away a little bit of, from their defense. But it's really unlike Marcus. I know he usually has like the first week or two of the season where he sort of, I remember you used to say sometimes he looks like he's a bit out of shape, and maybe that's true a little bit, but at this point, he should be crisp, and I think he's gonna figure this thing out. I just think the emphasis on offense and him running the offense, maybe that's playing a part in this. But you look across the league, a lot of these teams, especially some of the top tier teams, are just not playing well on that side of the floor defensively. I mean, shit, look at the champs. The Golden State Warriors. I think we talked about that a little bit last night. They're giving up a whole lot of points right now, even though their team is in a much different situation compared to the Celtics. You wonder if just the success of the early success of the season and the way this offense was clicking, and firing off on all cylinders, that maybe it's taken away from the defense a bit. Maybe they're going into games a little bit, a little cocky. I mean, Look at this one. What, another 120 or close to it? Like, they're fighting with giving up 120. It seems like every single night, and they got to clean that up because that's just too many points.
Every night. Everyone's saying, okay, we need Rob.
Yeah, that's a big part of it. Yeah.
Rob talked prior to the game. I mean, what is it worth? Not much.
He pretty much was like, same thing, no updates, and, don't hold your breath, but the timetable hasn't extended, nor has it shortened. So
that's it. I mean, I guess that's the best you can hope for at this point. Abby said, he was, dunking. I don't know about that. I didn't hear it. But just him being alive and him being close and it not being, worse than
you got to make these appearances,
because look, if they said 8 to 12, which again is whatever, he just passed week 6. Which means, like, all of a sudden, like, you could show up to Arback Center next week and see him doing some stuff. And everyone's going to all of a sudden start to get a little bit excited. So, again, it's early yet, but if you get him back before Christmas, I think we ruled him out till January and possibly even All-Star break.
I'm thinking All-Star break. Yeah.
If he's threatening to come back, at the end of this year, you're in pretty good. You're feeling better.
Yeah,
you're feeling better about it
because you hope this team is playing in June again, and he has to be a big part of that. We got to see a better version of Rob, and that's not to knock. We can't knock him for what he did last year. He did the best he could, with his health concerns and everything. But this time is different, and the Celtics organization are doing their part and easing him into it, which I think is the right thing to do for a team with championship aspirations.
So we got good news on Rob. And the bench just continues to kind of jam here. So again, we're in pretty good shape, as far as again, what are you expecting here?
Third and fourth string center out here making threes. Everyone made a three today. It was like the Oprah show. You get a three. It's crazy.
Griffin's making a three. I know this is Josue's boy, but again, I'm so back and forth on Vonleh. Sometimes I see him and I'm like,
What?
sometimes I see him and I'm like, he's going to be out of the league and soon. And other times I see him, I'm like, he's perfectly fine and he absolutely could play a few minutes every night and you'd be fine with it.
Yeah, I mean, I can see why you feel that way. I just hope we see more of him. I mean, not the way we've been seeing Luke Cornett, because I just don't think that's realistic right now. I think Joe Mazzulla, like that's his guy right now, at least for the moment. But hopefully we'll see more of Vonleh when guys are in foul trouble. I think he's an asset, and I think he showed that in the fourth quarter. It was a little rocky in the beginning, but towards the end he cleaned it up a bit, hit a 3-pointer from the corner, which I thought was big, extended the lead to double digits, and he runs back on defense, and I just think you want to keep him in the fold, get his reps in, because I do think he's valuable. And again, we're talking about All-Star break, we're talking about 2023, 2-3 months into it, that's when we'll see Rob again. That's a long time, and I think using these guys in different opportunities, different spots, guys like him, guys like Blake Griffin, you want to keep them engaged and keep them, on their toes. They want to play. They want to get their reps in. And I think that they're giving you something, they're not giving you a whole lot of nothing. And especially someone like Blake Griffin today, I think it was important for him to get that start and just sort of get his confidence up a bit.
I thought it looked like that one time where he got that kind of little, pass in the lane. I thought he was going to go up and try to hammer it. But man, the juice just is not there. He got up and he's like,
you see, sometimes, I was gonna say sometimes when he tries to get a rebound, I was just like, whoa, but he's doing the best.
That's it, huh? That's it. He's barely jumping over a Sunday Globe these days. It's something. We'll bring in Bobby. What's up, Bobby?
Hey, what's going on?
What do you got for the post?
I love that saying.
Not a ton so far. A lot of talk about the threes, of course, on the record-breaking night. They love the looks that they're getting on that end, and a lot of drive and kick action, a lot of good offensive flow. And this is Joe's thing. What did he say a couple games ago? He loves the math, and they pretty much won this game, I felt like, off their shot distribution. They were hammering the three-point line, and it's on pull-ups and settling most of the time. You love the drive and kick action.
A lot of drive and kick, a lot of extra passes.
Yeah. And I looked at their shooting numbers. I'll look at them again tonight, during the show. But they were over 40% on catch and shoot threes for the start of the season, and I believe below 30% on the pull-ups. But that was a small percentage of their three-point looks. So you love the shot distribution right now that they're putting out there. Josue and I complained about it for a little while, but when they're hitting at this rate, it's tough to complain because you just have that math advantage. You saw it, the Knicks hammering the paint, taking a bunch of mid-range twos, and eventually the Celtics separated from them there in that fourth quarter.
I mean, that's why you shoot them, and that's why everybody loves them. And if you're going to knock them down at a 40+% clip on the night, you're going to win. That's how the math works, If you're hitting them, and again tonight was a ridiculous percentage. They hit 53% of their threes. If you're up and above 40% of your threes and you're taking volume, you're just it's gonna be hard. It's hard to keep up. So again, here's the difference. Yeah.
What's the what's the famous Antoine Walker quote? Because I saw people put it on Twitter. I thought it was appropriate today.
Who is that?
Antoine Walker once was asked, "Why do you take so many threes?" And he said, "Because there aren't 4-pointers." Like in his mind, the law of averages, you know what I mean? It's like this is simple math, guys. Like, if you make them at a high rate, you're gonna average more points and you're more likely to win.
Yeah, I mean, it's revolutionary thinking because the league at that point when Antoine was playing hadn't fully caught up with the math, which is so freaking simple.
It's unbelievable. No one can figure that out.
It's amazing it took that long. We're like, wait a second. So if I shoot these at, they're better than twos, like it's so stupid. Like it's so silly that it didn't.
What do you like? What do you think is the reason, though? Honestly, I think it's Billy Beane. I think the baseball thing. Someone on the basketball side was like, wait a minute here. Why don't we look into analytics of basketball and see what
I think it's just general stubbornness, the idea of like what the sport means and what the sport's supposed to be, and like this idea of like, big men, being super important and working it in and dominating the pick. It's like football with running the ball. It's like you gotta run the ball, and every advanced analytic is like, no, you don't. Like you really could pass like 80% of the time, and you'd be better off.
Right.
So the math obviously works out here. I mean, again, it's the same thing as football. Do you want to start your play 5 yards behind the line of scrimmage or 3 or 5 yards in front of it? Like, where do you want to give your playmakers the ball? There or there? Obviously there is better. Forward is better than backwards. But, so that's who they are. That's their identity. The question is, Bobby, like, do they ever kind of rein it back in and, like, become, like, kind of both the defensive-minded team that they were last year and also a team that can put up crazy points? Because that would be scary. Right now, they're kind of not resting on their laurels, but they're just outgunning teams, and they're not really super worried about defense. But eventually, you want to see that even out.
Yeah, especially around the rim. I thought the rim resistance was 0
in
this
it was
game.
brutal.
And I didn't notice Luke left the game midway through the first quarter, so that explains why he didn't play. He'll miss tomorrow's game as well for personal reasons. So Vonleh comes in, does a better job moving around and switching. I believe you guys were talking about Blake when I came in terms of the physical regression, because we're seeing it. And I guess I like throwing him in there for a spot start, getting him a couple pick and roll looks, because we've talked about he's a vet. He's a guy who's part of this locker room now, and you need to make him feel involved to some degree, I'd say. And they did a decent job with that here today. I think he finished with 7 points, 1 or 2 defensive plays. But when it mattered, they transitioned to Vonleh, who I thought did a good job in the closing sequences there, despite a few offensive miscues. Bounced back from them pretty well, got a deflection, got a putback, and even hit a 3. So got good minutes from another really deep guy on your roster. Again, you had a different bench lineup going at it tonight. I didn't think they were any less effective than what we saw yesterday. And that's why, what did they go down a couple minutes into the third? They regained the lead, and then they never trailed again. So all your rotations right now are holding leads in these really close competitive games. Everyone hits threes in your lineup. Yeah. It's a deep team. It's kind of crazy to think about, because you see all these guys perform in preseason, and you're like, all right, let's see it when it matters. But Hauser, he's picking up minutes every night now. Some of these big guys, Vonleh, Luke, you're starting to see them impact the game to some degree. And
Grant. That's the thing, is if you look at it, right, the Gallinari you thought knocked your depth down a good bit. There was a ton of Hauser hype before the season began, but we didn't believe it. We had to see it. Reality here is when you have Horford and Rob, you're legitimately running 9 deep in a solid rotation, and you can plug a couple of other guys in there, for a few minutes, foul trouble, rest, whatever that is. But I mean, you've got your starters, and then you're going to run with Grant and Hauser, and then, Rob, whatever role he's in, and Brogdon, and you're going to feel pretty freaking good about that, even without, whatever. And then, you have the other bigs as kind of emergency depth, but that's your team right now. If Hauser's giving you reliable minutes and you can comfortably play him 15, 20 minutes a night, you're in pretty good shape.
Yeah, offensively, right? They're still figuring out the defense, and that's another thing out of this game, or this is another game rather, where you're left saying, yeah, it's a great night, good win, but you just wish you could have tightened it up a little bit around the rim. The resistance in there, again, non-existent. And Joe talked about that after the game. I think you guys mentioned briefly offense impacting defense, shooting impacting defense after missed shots. He saw that tonight. And then I think the offensive rebounding of Hartenstein, Randall, others hurt you at times too. So again, you can extend if you're hitting the shots. And I like the shots that they get. Again, Josue, the shot creation in this was so good. They were wide.
Open. See, that's what John and I were saying. How it wasn't forced. It wasn't.
It's hard to complain about it.
It was exactly clean looks.
Yeah, but we'll get to a night where they miss them, and you're like, 40, really?
And that's when you have to lean on your defense, the one that's giving up 120 points a game.
Right. So if you don't have threes and you don't have defense, you're probably going to lose. So I don't love the formula. I like it. I like the way they're executing it. But we've seen, again, in that Brad era, what happened when the threes didn't fall? You didn't have much to go back on. And
that's what I don't love. Bobby, and that's what I didn't like. The first, starting, I thought for sure when they started the night off with 5 threes, and they were up 15-5, I was like, this is a bad sign. They're going to fall in love with this.
It looked like a loss, right? Yeah.
Right. I felt like that this is going to be one of those where they get cocky and that's all they do. And they did, and that's all they did, but it worked. But you're right. It's not, I don't know. You don't want to be that team, but if Tatum's percentages are up this year and he's closer to what he's been over his career, which is closer to a 39% shooter, Jaylen is shooting at a high clip. And then you're throwing in Brogdon and Hauser and Grant. Yeah. That's a different story. If you've got guys coming off the bench, Hauser's shooting 50%, Grant's going to knock it down 40+%, and you're going to have Brogdon, who's a capable 3-point shooter. All of a sudden, it's different. Last year, there are teams that the Celtics relied so deeply on threes that simply didn't have the 3-point shooters. You got a bunch of guys who are kind of,
Good point. This team has them.
That's the difference. You have more.
Your best 3-point shooter. Well, Al in the playoffs, but Grant throughout the regular season. Yeah.
Right. You have more who can make it, so it's different than those other teams where there were nights, Bobby, where they got earned threes. They worked it, swung it to the open guy. Even Derek White's knocking him down at a better clip than he was last year. But they would swing.
Leave D White alone, man. Leave him alone.
That's not mean. I'm being nice.
Yeah, but you make it sound like he came in here like the known 3-point.
He shot sniper. Like 12% last year, guys. Come on. I mean, that's not being.
Well, no, more like 28 or so. But I see your point.
From 3, he shot 22% from 3. I think as a Celtic.
Who is that? White.
Well, he's shooting 41% from 3 this year. Okay.
I think this was his 8th straight game with a 3.
Okay.
7th.
But there are Brad teams that shot the 3 that couldn't shoot the 3. If this team can shoot the 3, you lean into it, right?
Right.
Yeah, it's a real strength for sure. And again, the looks they're not pull-ups, they're catch and shoot. You feel much better about those. And Smart, 11 assists. I think so much of his downhill activity, Brogdon's too off the bench, creates good movement and action. You would like to see if secondary dribble drives open up for some of these other guys, Horford in particular, who obviously didn't play tonight. Smart when he catches them sometimes. I think sometimes you can get downhill again, but it's having that balance, right? And so 51 attempts. Again, there's certain nights where I just wouldn't love that.
But you got to remember though that the Knicks, they gave him those shots. How many?
You're right.
You're wide open. Like they were overcompensating for not having Mitchell Robinson to a whole nother level. They're like, look, do not get crushed by guys like Tatum and Brown drive. And Marcus Smart was doing that, and they were closing him off, but he was finding guys. They were double teaming. They were double teaming him. They were double teaming everyone.
But to your point,
leaving guys behind the perimeter.
You are going to see teams that will do that to you, and that was the story of the Bucks series last year, right? And it goes 7 games, that's down to the wire, but you hit those in the end because they gave them to you, and that's the story of that series. And I think that's what some people hate about the game now is it's make miss, and you fire up those 50, and do they go in or do they not? And then after, if you lose it, you say they were good looks. So this is where you're kind of stuck with this. You just like to have some balance. Right now, I think they're 18th in rim looks. You can improve that a little bit because who's really putting pressure on this team outside of Brogdon?
Yeah, I don't even care. That's my thing is
others.
That's what I always thought is it doesn't matter. The math is the math. If you score more than the other team and you're averaging 124 but giving up 118, or you do it by scoring 112 and average and give up 106, you're still doing it. It doesn't really matter how you do it or how you win. You don't have to be one way versus the other. I thought the team was too defensive dependent last year, where you had to shut teams down and they'd just be. They couldn't score on the other end sometimes, and it'd be frustrating. And when we look back on what happened against Golden State, it's just simply
Isn't the inverse just as bad though?
It isn't. It isn't because I always think again, this is where it comes down to it. When you look for offense and you can't find it, that's a problem. I feel like defense, you can, and I know it's dangerous to coast all the time and wait to flip a switch. But I feel like defense, when you want it, you can go back and get it. It's not offense is a talent and it's a skill and it's a thing that you can do or you can't do. Defense, I believe, when they want to ratchet it up, they can transform back into a good defensive team. I like so much better seeing that they have an offensive identity where they can put up big numbers. I think that's more. I'm happier seeing them put up huge numbers and give up big numbers than I would be if they were squeaking out, 101-94 victories right now. It'd be like, okay, defense was great, but the offense is gross. We'd feel bad. We'd feel worse about that, I think. Obviously, you want to have both, Bobby, but I don't have a problem. And that's the thing is, like, when you're playing with more pace, the other team's going to get more shots up too. So that point total is going to go up. I know their defensive rating overall is bad, but again, I don't mind winning this style. I don't mind just running teams off the court and scoring a ton.
Yeah, I just think against particular, certain teams, you're able to do that. I think New York is definitely one of those teams. They're especially vulnerable without Mitchell Robinson, who's had a good start to the season. It's unfortunately, was unavailable today. But I think the Celtics just took full advantage of that. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see on nights when the shots when the threes aren't falling and teams are daring you to shoot it, how they change their game. Will they revert back to the team that we saw 24 hours ago? That team barely was taking many threes. They were just in attack mode and going to the teeth of the defense and finding ways to score and finding momentum and locking down defensively. So it all depends on who you're playing. But I think this week's lineup of teams kind of all give you something different, right? I mean, we don't have to look too far ahead, but obviously, the Detroit Pistons, I think is New Orleans coming up soon, and Oklahoma City's coming up soon. So there's gonna be a lot of teams that are coming in here who can shoot the three shoot from the or defend the three, at a high level, and also protect the paint. So we'll see how they counteract against the different matchups, how they have to change themselves, or change what they do.
I think we do have some more players coming through, so I'm going to go check on that and be
okay.
Right
we may not be here when you get back, Bobby, but that's totally fine. I do want to tell you guys briefly about one of our sponsors as well, because we got to pay the bills. Athletic Greens, terrific sponsor of ours here at the Garden Report. What can we say about Athletic Greens? We haven't said before. Everybody here at the Garden Report takes it, likes it. We use it literally every single day. Started taking it because I wanted all of the benefits that Athletic Greens brings, which is better gut health, more energy, optimized immune system. I don't want to seek it out on my own. I don't want to take a zillion pills and vitamins. I just wanted to be able to just do it all at once. And that's what Athletic Greens allows you to do. 75 high quality vitamins, minerals, whole food sourced ingredients, probiotics, adaptogens. I always have a tough time saying that, to help you start your day right. And all sorts of good things about it. As we said, lifestyle friendly, diet friendly, virtually no sugar, no GMOs. It supports better sleep quality and recovery, mental clarity and alertness, endorsed by a zillion healthcare professionals, thousands and thousands and thousands of 5-star reviews. Athletes, celebrities endorse it, use it. So again, right now is the time to reclaim your health, arm your immune system. Convenient daily nutrition, 1 scoop in a cup of water every day. That's it. No need for a million different pills and supplements to look out for your health. To make it easy on you, we are giving you a free gift. 1 free 1-year supply of immune supporting vitamin D, 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit that thing right there, athleticgreens.com/garden. Do it up, please. Again, athleticgreens.com/garden. If you do that, we get credit for the purchase. We get to keep doing this. We get to keep the lights on. We're happy. You're healthy. Everybody wins. So please check out athleticgreens.com/garden and go get yourself some. Closing thoughts on tonight and just kind of looking ahead. I know we got Memphis on Monday. That should be fun. Just kind of putting a bow on this one.
I mean, I just want to see more of this team's versatility, especially on the defensive end. Let's see if they can limit, a team like that. Maybe not give up 120 points. I know it's going to be hard, but let's see how they do defensively. Let's see how they bounce
don't
back.
Give up 120 points. Try that once.
Yeah, because that's not gonna bode well against a team like like Memphis. So, I want to see how they respond on that end of the floor, because then that would be even more impressive, honestly, if they were to just show another, just show that side of this team that's trying to figure that part of the floor out. You know, they're improving little by little. You know, and you see the defensive numbers, and compared to the rest of the NBA, but they're still the bottom 10 in a lot of those defensive categories. So hopefully,
you got to get it down some, right?
Yeah,
no question about it. They're scoring 119 a game, so I mean they are putting up freaking numbers. I mean, Josue, last year, if they touched 120 in regulation ever, you'd be like, wow, they're freaking they're averaging 119. I mean, that is elite offense, but you got to get it down, right? You're giving up 115 a game, way too friggin' high. Obviously, you want balance. And to me, it's the perimeter defenders. You know you don't have guys at the rim, so you're not going to point to those guys. You're not going to ask them to be taller or be different than what they are. Right. The perimeter guys have to lock it down better, which means Jaylen, which means Marcus, which means Derek White, which means Malcolm Brogdon, all of them. Those guys have to make it much, much, much tougher for people to get where they want to go on the floor and to be able to get themselves clean looks. They have to defend the three ball better. They have to do a lot of things. And I know the early going was kind of some bad luck. The Celtics were getting teams into that kind of 2-point range. That's the shot they wanted them to take. They weren't allowing as much at the rim. They weren't allowing as many 3-pointers. I feel like that shifted a little bit last few games where they have been giving up way too many clean looks from behind the arc. So they have to defend a little better. They got to keep guys in front of them. You're supposed to have a bunch of elite defending guards and wings. They got to play like it. So if they step it up a little bit, make it a little bit tougher, you hold the line for Rob, I think they'll be fine.
Yeah, no question. And you got, one of the toughest guards in the NBA to defend coming up. So it's a great test, and it's a great test for Marcus, who we've been keeping a close eye on the defensive side of the floor. And all those guys you just mentioned, I mean, they're the ones that are always guarding the other team's best player, right? So they set the tone, and I think that started the transformation of last year, right? Guys like Tatum and Brown just really dedicating themselves on that end of the floor. So let's see if Mazzulla can get them to do the same. And right now would be a perfect time, because 6-3, you stack up a few more wins, try to climb up the Eastern Conference standing, and just, continue to build, continue to, develop as a team.
Yeah. So we like that. We are going to wrap it. It's a Saturday night. We're going to let those guys finish their business down at New York. The guys are still talking. There's still some post-game things to happen there, but we do have much more coverage coming on CLNS Media. If you want to check it out, of course, head over to our YouTube channel for exclusive coverage here of the Celtics. Bobby and Josue will have their post-game breakdowns. You can check out all of our Celtics post-game interviews, which will be posted as well. And for those of you who are Patriots fans, as you probably know, we do have a post-game show tomorrow because the Patriots are taking on what happened to my brain?
You mean graphic? What do you mean?
The Colts. Holy wow. I
thought you were looking for a graphic. I'm like,
no. Just wanted to tell people that they're taking on the Colts, but like my mind just completely went away. I do have a graphic for the Patriots as well. But you can go check.
I knew it.
No, I just forgot the team. I was like, Jets. I was like, no, they did that already. Colts with no Jonathan Taylor and a 6th round QB.
Get it done, Pats. Come on.
Get it done. So check out our post-game show. That's going to come after the game. Of course, so keep it to CLNS Media if you haven't subscribed there and you're interested in both. Last shout out for Athletic Greens AG1, baby. athleticgreens.com/garden. Go check that out. Get yourself some free stuff. Once again, Celtics win. They are 6-3. This could be a 7-1 team. I mean, this could be again, you're talking the losses here are all narrow losses that they could have easily won. A couple of overtime games. I'm not going to coulda, shoulda, woulda it, but again, those 2 tough games against Cleveland, that one against Chicago, they've been there the whole time. So far, at the very least, we're entertained, right? Yeah. We'll see what the kind of team this turns into. It's fun to watch. Again, I guess that's part of my thinking too, Josue, is maybe, it is worrisome to not have that elite defense because that you'd always feel that was your fallback. If all else is going to hell, you can at least keep a team off the board. It's just more fun. This is just more fun.
I mean, I saw that coming into the season, honestly. I was like, no matter what, this is going to be a fun team to watch just because of, what they can do offensively. Obviously, we talked a lot about adding a Malcolm Brogdon, but Tatum and Brown taking things to another level. How Marcus Smart was going to react, respond, and all that. So this team continues to be that fun team that we like to watch. But I think we're going to realize at a certain point, well, maybe we're already there, that like they're just not that team from last year, defensively. But they could be. They could get back to that point. But right now they're just not there. But that's all right because of what they're doing offensively, and that's something that we didn't see last year. We didn't see this offense create the way they're doing this right now, and just completely just stack up points on the board, man. It's been impressive. It really has.
I like it a lot.
I was going to ask you about that. Semi-automatic. There's another one.
That's Sam the one Tim threw out there. Yeah. The 3 Sam was the funny one. People are kind of voting right now. If you guys want to check it out, you guys
we should get a poll. Maybe we'll get a poll going.
I might throw a poll out there. You guys can continue the conversation over on our Discord channel. If you want some more promos, I can throw that one at you too. Yeah, we got that. Let me see if I can find it. Discord, Twitch.
I'm gonna throw some pics in there too. I've been doing that on Discord now. Throw a couple pictures in there.
Oh, you're in there?
Yeah. I check in with those guys every once in a while.
Go check it out, guys. CLNSmedia.com/Discord. We got 1,000 strong Celtics Nation Garden Report viewers in there. You guys can debate the Hauser thing there if you want. Last shout out to our producer Tim Shields, who's working behind the scenes, doing all the dirty work. He's the one with the Sammy Automatic nickname. So again, thank you to Tim. You can check out Tim's got himself a podcast as well, so you want to make sure you check that out. And also thanks to Amit, who, even if he's not working on tonight's show, I feel like he's always with us.
He was helping us out pregame. Appreciate you.
He's indefatigable. He's just the guy sleeps like 1 hour a night.
For real.
He's an absolute machine. So thanks, Amit. Thanks, Tim. Thanks you guys for watching at home. We will check out. We'll see you guys on Monday for after the Memphis game. Good night.